My wallet was in your bag. You thief!
Exclaimed my sister-in-law, glaring at me as she rummaged through the bag. This incident occurred during a party at my in-laws' house, right after my fiancé and I had set a date for our wedding. The gathering included both my family and my fiancé's, and unfortunately, my less-than-favorite sister-in-law was present. During a recent visit to my in-laws' home to announce our engagement, my sister-in-law had taken notice of me. Since then, she frequently invited me out for meals, saying things like, "I don't have any change today, can you cover it?" Or, "I forgot my wallet, can you lend me some money?" Not once did she pay for her own meals. To make matters worse, she never returned the money I had fronted for her. Initially, I had hoped to get along with my sister-in-law. However, as the days went by, my trust in her waned, and now I avoid her as much as possible. But being accused of theft in front of my fiancé and other relatives left me feeling utterly flustered. While the wallet she held was undoubtedly hers, I had never stooped to stealing anyone's purse. Please calm down," I said, attempting to interject. But my sister-in-law cut me off before I could say more.
What? Are you trying to make excuses? Be prepared, because I'll demand compensation for stealing my wallet.
Without giving me a chance to respond, she continued to shout excitedly. However, as I regained my composure, I couldn't help but suppress a little chuckle. The scene unfolded further as other relatives burst into laughter, leaving my sister-in-law dumbfounded.
Hey! What's so funny?
Eventually, I decided to reveal the truth to her, her face now flushed with embarrassment. "I can't help but find it amusing." "You've said quite a lot," I replied. "My name is Ariel. I'm a 28-year-old office worker, and I've recently gotten engaged to someone I've been dating for a while. His name is Carson, and he's 2 years older than me. Interestingly, Carson is also my boss at the company where I work. From the time I joined the company, Carson has always been attentive and supportive. He's a reliable boss who listens sincerely to his subordinates' concerns. Over time, our interactions extended beyond work, and we developed mutual feelings for each other. Our similar ages and shared interests played a significant role. After a successful few years of dating, we've decided to get married, and our first step is to inform both sets of parents about our decision. When I first visited my parents' home with Carson, both my parents and my older sister, Cecilia, wholeheartedly blessed us. Cecilia, who is 7 years my senior, is already married and lives in the neighborhood with her husband and 2 children. Due to a childhood illness, she now works from home as a translator. Knowing that I was coming home, she had finished her work early for the day. Cecilia smiled at me and Carson, saying,
"Ariel, congratulations. Carson, please take care of my sister."
She has always doted on me since I was young. I, too, adore my kind and intelligent sister. On our way back after greeting the family, Carson turned to me and said,
"Your sister is wonderful."
His words made me feel oddly happy, as if he were praising me. I mentioned that Carson also has a sister, and I was looking forward to meeting her. However, Carson's expression turned complex. Carson said hesitantly,
"But my sister can be a bit selfish and pretentious. I worry she might cause trouble for you, Ariel."
It seemed he wasn't eager for me to meet his sister. Despite this, I hope to get along well with my future sister-in-law, Melody. Little did I know that a person named Melody would soon become a source of concern in my life. Later, when we visited Carson's parents, they warmly welcomed me. His mother greeted me in a relaxed tone, saying,
Ariel, it's been a while. Thank you for visiting.
His father also smiled kindly. Although I had spoken with Carson's parents a few times at the entrance of their home, this was the first time I entered their house. I felt nervous about meeting Carson's sister for the first time. However, it turned out that Melody, Carson's sister, was conveniently absent. While I felt disappointed, Carson visibly breathed a sigh of relief. Perhaps he really didn't want me to meet Melody. As we chatted with Carson's kind parents, the tension dissipated, and we enjoyed a pleasant time together. They genuinely celebrated our upcoming marriage, which put my mind at ease as we prepared to leave. As we were being seen off by our future in-laws and heading toward the front door, something unexpected happened. The door swung open from the outside, and a voice called out, "I'm home." A woman stepped inside. Carson's reaction was immediate.
Oh.
He murmured. The woman who stood there, blocking the doorway, appeared to be in her mid-30s, around the same age as my sister. However, unlike my sister, she wore heavy makeup and exuded a strong-willed aura. I immediately recognized her as Carson's sister, Melody. According to Carson, Melody was divorced and had no children. She was assertive and seemed to have an eye for material things. "Nice to meet you," I said to Melody. Her response was curt. When I looked at her, she scrutinized me with assessing eyes. Then, she smirked and asked,
How did you meet Carson?
Carson interjected, annoyed.
Melody, you are just met. Don't bombard her with questions.
But Melody continued, undeterred.
How much do you earn? You dress nicely. You must be wealthy. Do you work at the same company as Carson?
She fired off various inquiries. Stammering in response, I felt overwhelmed by her barrage of questions. Carson stepped in, scolding Melody.
Enough already. Ariel is uncomfortable. We're leaving, so move aside.
He physically separated Melody from me, but she glared at him defiantly.
What's the rush? We'll be sisters-in-law soon. Can't we chat a bit? Oh, and Ariel, let's exchange contact information,
Melody said, pulling out her phone from her bag. I hesitated but ultimately gave her my contact details. Still, I wondered if I had made the right choice and my regret began to bubble up.
Melody, don't bother Ariel too much.
Her mother cautioned. But Melody paid no attention and walked right in. When the topic of Melody came up the other day, I finally understood why Carson's expression changed. Unlike my husband Carson, Melody seems to be assertive and not very good at listening to others. She's the complete opposite of my biological sister. I'm anxious about whether we'll get along in the future. However, since we're going to be family, I still want to get along with Melody. So, when she contacts me, I'll make sure to reply promptly. After exchanging contact information, I started receiving frequent emails from her the day after. As we continued our correspondence via email, we realized that our workplaces are close to each other. One day, Melody invited me to have lunch during our work break. I accepted without hesitation, thinking there was no reason to decline. However, when it came time to pay after our meal, Melody suddenly exclaimed,
Oh!
She then asked if I could cover the bill because she didn't have any change at the moment. While I found her behavior puzzling, I decided to go along with it and covered the lunch expense as she requested. However, on another day, something else happened.
Oh dear, I forgot my wallet. Ariel, could you cover it for me?
Despite being the one who frequently invites me to lunch, Melody has started finding reasons to make me pay for her portion of the meal. Even when she later promises to reimburse me, she dismisses it with,
Lunch expenses aren't a big deal, right? Let's not fuss over the details.
She avoids addressing the issue directly. While the cost of a single lunch isn't significant, Melody's repeated invitations gradually increase my burden. In the end, several months have passed, and the money I covered has never been returned to me. My trust in her has eroded day by day. I've come to realize that it's best to avoid getting too involved with Melody, and my desire to be friendly with her has faded away. Lately, I've been making excuses to decline lunch invitations and keeping my email replies to a minimum. I had tried to distance myself as much as possible, but it happened one day after work. When Carson and I were leaving the company together, I was immediately called by a familiar voice. I looked in the direction of the voice, and there stood Melody. She had been waiting for my work to finish.
Leaving the company together as a couple, huh? You two seem close.
With a sarcastic tone, Melody addressed us. Carson frowned upon hearing her.
What do you want, Melody?
When Carson asked, Melody smiled sweetly and said,
Actually, I have dinner plans with friends later today, but I'm short on cash. Ariel, could you lend me some money?
She was practically emboldened by her previous actions, and I started feeling uncomfortable. I'll have to decline. You still haven't paid back the money you borrowed from me earlier. I firmly rejected her. As soon as I did, Melody became displeased.
You're so cold. We're like family, right? It's normal for family members to borrow money from each other. Besides, you earn more than I do.
She was shamelessly trying to guilt-trip me, as if she had tasted success before. In fact, I had never discussed salaries with her, but she probably found out because we both worked at the same company. I wanted to retort that we weren't family yet, but Carson beat me to it.
Even among families, borrowing money isn't always appropriate. Before going out to dinner, how about repaying the money you owe Ariel? If you can't do it right away, maybe you should head home.
Melody.
Carson, who do you think you are? Talking like that? I'm your older sister. Are you defending some random woman over your own sister?
Despite calling us family earlier, Melody now glared at me while referring to me as a stranger. And then she continued.
Besides, in today's world, women need to have money too. Don't you understand, Ariel? Refusing to lend me money is like announcing that you're poor.
Her argument made no sense whatsoever, and Carson seemed to lose the will to argue. He just looked exasperated.
She's talking nonsense. Ariel, let's go. Don't take her words to heart.
We decided not to engage with Melody any further and left the scene, pretending to be strangers. As we walked away, I noticed coworkers glancing at us. Clearly, we were the center of attention.
Wait! Hey! Wait up!
Melody shouted from behind, but we didn't turn back. Even after that, I occasionally received messages from Melody, but due to wedding preparations, I was busy and kept my replies non-committal. Of course, I declined dinner invitations as well. Since the incident where she ambushed me outside the office, I hadn't met her. Amidst this, the wedding date was finally set, and a party was organized where both families would gather. The venue was my in-laws' house. Carson and I arrived there, and soon after, my parents and sister joined us. Melody was also present at the dining table, but surprisingly, she remained quiet and didn't say anything to me despite our greetings. Her eerie behavior aside, the table was adorned with a sumptuous meal, and the atmosphere was celebratory. As the dinner proceeded harmoniously, everyone engaged in cheerful conversations. However, just then, when Melody returned from the restroom, chaos erupted.
What? It's gone! My wallet is missing!
She exclaimed, claiming that her wallet, which she had placed in her bag, was nowhere to be found. My mother-in-law tried to calm her down.
Please relax. Maybe you left it in your room?
But Melody paid no attention to her soothing words.
I'm certain I put it in my bag.
I see. I understand now. You stole it, didn't you?
She pointed at me and began rummaging through the bag. To everyone's surprise, she pulled out a wallet, one I had seen before. It was Melody's wallet.
See. Just as I said, my wallet was in your bag.
With an oddly triumphant tone, she continued to confront me.
You stole it while I was in the restroom, didn't you? You act all innocent, but you're an awful woman. I oppose someone like you becoming my brother's wife.
I stammered, trying to defuse the situation. Melody, please calm down.
Are you going to make excuses? What you did is theft. Be prepared. I'll demand compensation.
She didn't give me a chance to speak and continued shouting in her excitement. Unable to bear it any longer, I burst out laughing. Oh dear. As I chuckled, my parents and Carson joined in the laughter. Melody looked dumbfounded but soon turned red with anger.
Hey! What's so funny?
It's hard not to laugh. You've said quite a lot, Melody.
Huh?
My sister, sitting next to me, addressed Melody, who seemed utterly confused.
That bag doesn't belong to Ariel. It's mine.
At that moment, Melody's expression froze.
What?
Her face turned pale, and I confirmed. Can you really believe my sister would steal your wallet? Melody had been waiting for an opportunity to accuse me. But today, I hadn't brought my bag to the dinner party, and the bag nearby belonged to my sister. Furthermore, my sister couldn't possibly engage in theft. She had been wheelchair-bound since childhood due to illness, and she sat there throughout the meal, chatting amicably with both sets of parents. Most likely, Melody herself placed the wallet in my sister's bag. The issue is when exactly she managed to put the wallet in.
Melody, before we started our meal, you came over to greet my parents and me, right? I distinctly remember you sitting near us, discreetly hiding my bag behind your back. Your behavior felt odd, and I suspect that was the moment you slipped the wallet in.
My sister's composed words resolved my doubts. Melody, unable to answer immediately, looked flustered and avoided eye contact. Her demeanor practically confirmed our suspicions. Caught in an inescapable situation, Melody groaned.
Ugh.
My sister continued, her tone calm.
I've heard about your character from my younger sister. Despite being close in age, how can you engage in such calculated harassment? Please refrain from hurting my precious sister any further.
Finally realizing my sister's anger, I noticed her quiet yet stern tone. She had a calm demeanor, but when she was upset, her words carried weight. As my sister lectured Melody, our in-laws also scolded her.
Melody, what are you doing? Accusing Ariel of theft is beyond embarrassing.
Truly disappointing. We treated you and Carson equally, but where did we go wrong in raising you? Ariel, everyone, I apologize for our daughter's behavior.
However, despite her parents' apologies, it seemed Melody remained unmoved. Suddenly, she stood up with determination, glaring at me fiercely.
Why is everyone making me out to be the villain? From the start, I opposed your marriage with Carson. Even today, I hoped you'd embarrass yourself and break up. But you've ruined everything.
Her anger escalated, and I was left speechless. But Carson, who knew Melody's true intentions, erupted in fury.
Enough of this nonsense.
He shouted, causing Melody to flinch.
We've been listening quietly all this time. You've been deliberately trying to sabotage our relationship. I won't tolerate it anymore. I'll say everything right here.
Wait, what are you planning to say?
Despite Melody's attempts to stop him, Carson's anger fueled his determination. He exposed all of Melody's past misdeeds, how she made me pay for lunch and never returned the money, how she ambushed us outside our office, begging for money, and more. According to Carson, Melody had secretly whispered baseless rumors about me to him, attempting to break us apart.
Who would believe such words? Ariel has worked diligently since joining the company, and I know firsthand that she's honest and kind. Just because we're family doesn't mean we can say anything.
He didn't delve into the specifics of Melody's gossip, but his intense anger hinted at the severity of her accusations. Did all that really happen? I asked, surprised by the revelation. Carson's regretful expression spoke volumes.
I'm sorry. I kept quiet because I didn't want to worry Ariel unnecessarily. Regardless of what my sister said, I trust Ariel.
His sincere response brought tears to my eyes. Wiping them away, I turned to face Melody. Melody, I've decided to stand by Carson no matter what. So please, let this be an opportunity for you to distance yourself from being Carson's sister. Blushing, Melody retorted.
Enough! Remember this!
And with that, she stormed out of my in-laws' house. After the storm had passed, I felt a sense of relief. No matter what kind of harassment Melody might attempt in the future, I was no longer afraid. This incident deepened my affection for Carson even more. I vowed to continue walking alongside him, trusting in our love. A few days later, the lunch expenses I had previously covered for Melody were returned to me through my in-laws. Apparently, they had urged Melody to repay the borrowed amount. Additionally, Melody's ex-husband contacted my in-laws. The cause of their divorce was Melody's extravagant spending habits, which even extended to their living expenses. Consequently, Melody had been paying alimony, and she had assured my in-laws that the payments were complete. However, it turned out that a substantial amount was still outstanding. Recently, her repayment had fallen behind, as revealed by her ex-husband's communication. Upon learning this, my in-laws had severed ties with Melody. Besides her previous misdeeds against us, she had a history of stealing money from the family. In addition to alimony, Melody had accumulated debt from buying luxury items and excessive gambling. According to Carson, Melody had been a compulsive gambler since her 20s, and my in-laws had repeatedly admonished her. Ultimately, her financial situation became dire. She had even misused funds from her workplace, leading to her recent dismissal. Later, Melody, who had been evicted from her parents' home and lost her job, called me. Tearfully, she pleaded,
Ariel, you're the only person I can rely on now. Please, lend me a little money.
Naturally, I refused. Is this convenient for you? Please repay the alimony and debts with money you earn honestly. I have no intention of being involved with you anymore. Melody persisted.
But we're family. Let's get along from now on.
I responded firmly. Initially, I wanted to get along too. But I won't become family with someone who has reckless spending habits and doesn't feel remorse for their actions. With that, I hung up despite her continued protests. Subsequently, Melody began living in a modest apartment with her meager savings. However, debt collectors pursued her relentlessly, and she eventually had to vacate the apartment. Now, I have no idea where she is or how she's managing. Carson also vowed never to associate with her again. A month later, we had a wedding without Melody's presence, a joyous occasion blessed by many. Those happy moments remain precious memories. After marriage, we moved into the new home we had prepared. Soon after, I discovered I was pregnant. With our growing family, I look forward to sharing happy days alongside Carson.
How did you like this story? If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time.